In the bustling modern town of Odo-Aye, where skyscrapers touched the sky but ancient talking drums still echoed in the evenings, Chief Adekunle and Madame Morenike were the couple everyone admired. Their home stood like a palace, white walls, tall gates, cars that glimmered, and children who walked with the confidence of good upbringing. People often said if marriage had a face, it would look like theirs. Their three children, Tade, Bisi, and Yetunde, were stars in the university, known for intelligence and humility. Together, the family shone so brightly that some elders called them the household of light. But even light casts shadows. Unknown to many, an old carved gourd, an heirloom passed down from Adekunle's ancestors, sat quietly in their living room. It had been gifted to the couple on their wedding day by a respected village elder named Baba Olusoji. He had simply said, "This gourd watches over unity. May it never crack." Through the years, the family laughed, prayed, and lived under its silent presence. None of them imagined that the first sign of trouble would echo through the gourd before it echoed through their lives. Chief Adekunle was not only handsome but charismatic. His voice, deep and warm, often melted anger out of people's hearts. He was a respected manager in a multinational firm, known for fairness and discipline. Yet as powerful as he seemed, he was still human, and humans sometimes stumble. His trouble began the day Shewa, a new intern with eyes that sparkled like mischief, walked into his office. She always had a reason to get close. "Sir, I need help with this file. Sir, you are the only one who understands the system." Her perfume lingered long after she left, and so did her intentions. What Adekunle didn't know was that Shewa carried her own agenda. She had grown up hearing stories from her grandmother about how successful men could be tamed with charm. She believed that seducing a powerful man would elevate her status. The day she touched Adekunle's hand deliberately as she handed him a document, something shifted in the air, like the faint crack of dry wood. At that exact moment, back at home, the ancient gourd on the living room shelf trembled lightly, as if a warning had been triggered. For months, Adekunle resisted. He prayed. He avoided private meetings. He reminded himself of Morenike's love, the way she held his hand during morning prayers, the way her laughter filled their home. But temptation is a patient hunter. One rainy evening, Shewa orchestrated a situation. Everyone had closed for the day except her. She waited, soaked in rain and tears, claiming to feel unsafe going home. Adekunle offered to drive her. She leaned on his shoulder. She whispered gratitude, and in the heavy silence of a parked car, he fell. He regretted it instantly. The guilt was a weight that even the gym could not lift off his shoulders. He ended the affair quickly, pleading with Shewa to let him go. She agreed, but her smile that day was unsettling, too calm for someone who had just been rejected. Meanwhile, at home, the gourd developed a thin hairline crack that no one noticed. During evening prayers, the family felt a strange coldness, like the air itself was holding its breath. Adekunle lived in fear of his secret slipping out. Unfortunately, secrets behave like smoke. They find a way. Shewa, feeling humiliated, shared the story confidentially with a close friend. That friend whispered it to another, and soon the rumor spread, slithering through Odo-Aye like a patient snake. It finally reached Morenike through the gossip network of wealthy socialites who pretended to hate drama but thrived on it. When Morenike heard it, her world froze. She confronted Adekunle, and though he confessed with tears, begging for forgiveness, her heart shattered. For years she had stood beside him, loyal and steadfast. Now she felt humiliated beyond words. That night, as she wept in the bedroom, the gourd in the living room cracked audibly, a sharp sound that echoed like a warning from the ancestors. Tade, who was home for the weekend, heard it and felt a strange chill run down his spine. Morenike was known for her strength, but anger has a way of transforming even the most gentle hearts. She refused counseling. She refused prayers. She rejected every apology. Instead, something darker awakened inside her. "He disgraced me. I will disgrace him too," she said one night, her eyes cold. She began spending more time outside the house, dressed far more boldly than before. The children sensed something shifting, but didn't know how deep the storm ran. Her path crossed with Kunle Jr., popularly referred to as KJ, a young man only a little older than her firstborn son. He admired her beauty, her confidence, and the mystery she now carried. She saw in him an escape, a weapon, and a twisted form of revenge. What started as conversations soon became something more, and Morenike felt a strange mixture of empowerment and self-destruction. Meanwhile, the Gourd's crack widened. The moment the community found out that Morenike was involved with a younger man, the scandal exploded. The Yoruba people could tolerate many things, but a married woman committing adultery, especially publicly, was a deep cultural violation. Their family name dropped from honor to mockery overnight. The same people who once praised them now whispered, "The household of light has turned to darkness." The children suffered the most. Tade was teased in the university hostel. Bisi lost friends. Yetunde cried every night. Adekunle walked around like a ghost, carrying shame like a heavy cloak. And Morenike? She pretended to be strong, but every night she felt something watching her. An unseen presence, a whisper in the darkness. Sometimes she dreamed of the gourd shattering completely, releasing something she couldn't understand. Something was coming.
In Odo-Aye, festivals were common, but this year's New Yam Festival felt different. As the community gathered around the square, the talking drums began to play rhythms that felt unusually heavy, deep tones that made even children grow quiet. Yoruba elders believed that drums did more than entertain. Sometimes they warned. That afternoon, as Adekunle passed by the drummers, the lead drummer paused, stared at him, and struck a slow, sorrowful beat. The sound crawled under Adekunle's skin like a personal message from the ancestors. At home, Morenike stood before the mirror getting dressed for another secret meeting with KJ when she heard that same drum rhythm echo faintly, though no drum was nearby. She froze, heart thumping. For a moment, her reflection seemed unfamiliar, her eyes darker, her aura heavier, like she was becoming someone she wouldn't recognize. She blinked, and the illusion vanished. Shaking off the feeling, she stepped out, ignoring the faint sound of the gourd shifting on the shelf behind her. Tade returned home from the university after a physical fight with a classmate who mocked their family. His shirt was torn, and frustration burned in his eyes. "Why is this happening to us?" he yelled, punching the wall. Adekunle held his head in shame. Morenike avoided his gaze. Bisi withdrew into silence, and Yetunde, the youngest, knelt by the cracked gourd one evening and whispered, "Grandma said this thing protects unity. Why won't it help us now?" The gourd did not answer, but the crack deepened. The children felt abandoned in a storm created by the two people they admired most. Their parents had turned the once peaceful home into a battlefield of silence, accusations, and cold shoulders. Even prayer time became awkward. Every amen sounded hollow. Every scripture felt like an accusation. In the Yoruba belief system, children are the first to feel the consequences of a broken covenant, and these three were drowning in a pain they didn't choose. Just when Adekunle thought matters could not grow worse, Shewa returned, not with love, but with vengeance. After discovering that Morenike's affair had become a scandal, she saw an opportunity to twist the knife deeper.
She approached Morenike anonymously through a mutual acquaintance and leaked more details about her affair with Adekunle, pretending to be a concerned woman trying to help. She even exaggerated the story, claiming Adekunle had promised to marry her. When Morenike heard these new details, she snapped. The anger she kept bottled erupted like a volcano. She confronted Adekunle again, this time with violence. Plates fell, tears flowed, bitter words cut deep. Adekunle swore the new allegations were lies, but Morenike no longer cared. While the house shook with chaos, Yetunde swore she heard a whisper inside the living room. When the gourd cracked, unity dies. News of the family's downfall reached Baba Olusoji, the elderly man who had gifted them the ancestral gourd on their wedding day. With slow, painful steps, he journeyed to their home on a quiet Saturday morning. Adekunle and Morenike were shocked to see him. His presence felt like seeing judgment walk on earth. He entered their living room, saw the cracked gourd, and sighed deeply. "I warned you. This gourd is not decoration. It is a mirror of harmony. When love breaks, it cracks. When pride fuels stubborn hearts, it shatters." He turned to the couple and spoke like one possessed by the spirits of the ancestors. Unforgiveness is a silent poison. It kills first the one who holds it, then everyone around them. His eyes moved from Adekunle to Morenike. Both of you opened the door to shame, one with weakness, the other with vengeance. The gourd cannot heal until both of you humble yourselves. As he spoke, a breeze swept through the living room, even though the windows were closed. BC felt chills dance up her arms. Morenike tried to bury the elder's words, but guilt began clawing at her heart. Meanwhile, KJ, the young man she had taken as a revenge lover, began to change too. What started as an exciting secret relationship soon became a burden for him. He started demanding money, gifts, and influence. When she hesitated, he reminded her of the scandal they had already caused. "You can't dump me now. Everyone knows," he smirked. For the first time, Morenike realized she was trapped in the same net Adekunle had escaped from. One night, after a heated argument, KJ threatened to leak intimate photos if she dared end things. Morenike's heart nearly stopped. She felt the world close in on her, darkness tightening its grip. That night, she dreamed of the cracked gourd, now broken into pieces, with something shadowy crawling out of it. When she awoke, sweat drenched her face. She knew the dream meant something. Even if she didn't understand it yet, her soul felt the warning: this revenge will destroy you. The tension became unbearable. Adekunle moved into the guest room. Morenike avoided the house entirely. The children tiptoed around them like strangers. Gossip continued to spread. Adekunle's company placed him under disciplinary review. Morenike's clients began to withdraw their trust. Every blessing they once enjoyed slipped through their fingers like water. One evening, during a power outage, lightning flashed across the living room window, and the gourd, finally, fell off the shelf. The family rushed in to find it shattered into 7 pieces. As the thunder rolled outside, the room filled with an eerie stillness. Tade felt something cold brush past him. Bisi burst into tears, and Yetunde whispered, "It's over." Adekunle and Morenike stared at each other with horror, realizing that the symbol of their unity, blessed on their wedding day, had been destroyed. They didn't know how, but a deep sense of finality settled in the air. Something spiritual had closed its chapter, and a storm, both physical and emotional, battered the household of light.
The night the gourd shattered, sleep refused to enter the Adekunle household. Morenike lay awake, trembling under the weight of everything collapsing around her. Adekunle prayed endlessly, but every prayer felt as though it hit a ceiling and fell back on his chest. Meanwhile, Yetunde tossed and turned, dreaming of a tall, shadowy figure standing beside the broken gourd pieces, its whisper echoing in her dreams. A covenant broken brings consequences. When she awoke, the house was colder than it had ever been. Outside, the wind howled with unusual ferocity, rattling windows and shaking trees. Some elders in Odo-Aye claimed that when a marriage blessed under ancestral protection collapses, the land itself feels the wound. Whether rumor or truth, that night even birds refused to roost on the family's compound walls. In Yoruba lore, such silence meant the ancestors were stirring, watching, weighing hearts, and waiting to decide which lessons must be taught through pain. The family's downfall did not remain a private affair. The entire community began to feel the ripple effects. The local church murmured prayers for them during services. The elders discussed their case during meetings. Even children who used to admire the family now mimicked their scandal in whispers. The once enviable household had become a cautionary tale. Adekunle felt it most when he visited the supermarket. Whispers followed him down every aisle like invisible shadows. Morenike felt the sting too. She received a formal letter from her association warning her about conduct unbefitting a high-ranking member. Her colleagues avoided being seen with her. Even KJ, sensing the intensity of public backlash, temporarily disappeared for fear of being attacked by angry community youths. Meanwhile, Baba Olusoji's words haunted her. Unforgiveness is poison. For the first time, she began questioning herself, not as a betrayed wife, but as a mother whose choices had wounded her children. Since the gourd broke, Tade began experiencing strange occurrences, lights flickering when he entered rooms, cold spots in the house, and shadows that moved when no one else was present. One afternoon, while picking up the broken gourd pieces, he saw a faint, glowing line of symbols etched on the inner surface, ancient Yoruba inscriptions. He called Yetunde, who recognized one symbol from her grandmother's stories. It meant unity, another meant oath, and the last meant judgment. Before they could discuss further, a heavy gust of wind swept through the living room, scattering the pieces violently. Tade felt a firm push on his chest, as though something unseen was warning him not to touch the remnants of the covenant again. Both children ran out of the room terrified. Bisi, who had been silently observing her parents' war, broke down and said, "Maybe the ancestors are angry at all of us." For the first time, the children realized their family's spiritual bond had been deeper than anyone had explained. Feeling the weight of spiritual consequences, Adekunle sought counsel from Baba Olusoji. The old man listened carefully, then nodded solemnly. The gourd doesn't break on its own. It reflects hearts. Yours fell first, and hers hollowed. Spirits of discord entered because forgiveness was chased out. He advised Adekunle to humble himself completely, to confess openly, apologize sincerely, and seek reconciliation not only with his wife, but with the ancestors and community. Taking the advice to heart, Adekunle organized a small family meeting. He cried as he apologized to his children. He knelt in front of Morenike, something he had never done in their 22 years of marriage, and said, "Forgive me, I failed you." His voice cracked with sincerity. For a moment, Morenike's hardened heart softened slightly, but bitterness, once rooted, rarely leaves without a fight. The forgiveness she longed to give got stuck behind a wall she had built herself. Morenike's nights grew darker. She began hearing whispers, not from her conscience, but from something else, something that fed on anger. Sometimes, while alone in her bedroom, she felt a presence standing behind her, breathing heavily. Other times, shadows swirled in the corner of her eyes. In Yoruba tradition, when the spirit of division gains access to a broken home, it clings to whoever houses the most bitterness. Morenike had unknowingly become the vessel.
One night she dreamed of walking through a forest filled with red-eyed creatures whispering her name. The spirits told her she was right to seek revenge, that Adekunle deserved more pain, that she must never forgive. She woke up gasping, heart pounding, drenched in sweat. In that moment, the truth hit her hard. She was no longer fighting Adekunle. She was fighting something spiritual feeding on her hurt, something that would consume every part of her if she didn't stop soon. The conflict reached its climax when, during yet another heated argument, Morenike screamed that she was leaving the marriage for good. The children cried, begging both parents to stop. Adekunle was exhausted, emotionally, spiritually, mentally. Every attempt to fix the home felt like pouring water into a cracked pot. As Morenike stormed out, a sudden violent gust slammed the front door behind her with supernatural force, shaking the entire house. A framed wedding photo fell and shattered beside the broken gourd pieces. Even the neighbors felt something shift in the air that evening. An eerie calm sank over the street like the quiet before a storm. Adekunle sank to the floor, defeated. The children huddled close together, trembling. Morenike walked away with tears streaming down her face, but deep down she felt the heavy footsteps of unseen forces following her. The household of light had become a battlefield, and the war was far from over.
After storming out, Morenike checked into a small guest house on the outskirts of Odo-Aye, but peace did not follow her. That first night, when she attempted to freshen up, something chilling happened. Her reflection in the mirror lagged behind her movements. She blinked, but the reflection blinked a second later. She stepped back in fear. For a moment, the image in the mirror wasn't even her. It was a dark silhouette with glowing eyes. She screamed and stumbled away from the bathroom. The guesthouse manager ran in alarm, but when he checked the mirror, everything appeared normal. Morenike, shaken, forced a smile and dismissed it as stress. But deep in her spirit, she knew the truth. Something was following her, something that wanted her heart to remain bitter. As she lay in the guesthouse bed, she felt a cold presence press against her chest. It whispered, "Do not forgive. You owe him pain." Morenike covered her ears, trembling. Back home, Adekunle couldn't sleep. The empty space where Morenike should have been made the house feel haunted. One night, he dreamt he was standing before a river with muddy, swirling water. A voice said, "Your sin opened the gate. Only repentance can close it." When he knelt by the riverbank, a shadow crawled out of the water, his own shadow, but twisted, accusing him. It pointed at him and hissed, "You destroyed your covenant." He awoke in terror, drenched in sweat. That morning, he visited Baba Olusoji again. The old man shook his head sadly. "Your shadow is truth. The spirits cannot be fooled by apologies spoken only by the mouth. You must cleanse your heart fully. Your pride must die before your home can live again." Adekunle felt overwhelmed, but he knew he couldn't stop fighting. He had to save what remained of his family before the supernatural forces finished what the Gourd had warned about. The children were collapsing emotionally. Bissi barely ate. Tade stayed out late to avoid the tension. Yetunigene prayed constantly, whispering scriptures to fight the fear gripping her heart. One evening, Yetunde saw a tall shadow standing in the hallway. It didn't move, didn't breathe, it only watched her. When she screamed and the lights flicked on, it vanished, but the coldness lingered. She begged her father, "Daddy, please bring Mommy home. The house feels wrong." Adekunle hugged her tightly, regretting every action that had led them here. Even the neighbors noticed strange occurrences, lights flickering,
cold gusts passing through their compound, animals refusing to come near the house. Odo-Aye's oldest residents whispered among themselves. The gourd was broken. The covenant spirits walk. Nobody dared visit the home after sunset.
While Morenike battled unseen forces, KJ resurfaced, this time more dangerous. He showed up at her guest house unannounced, wearing a cocky grin. "You owe me," he said, "and I'm not finished with you." When she threatened to cut ties entirely, he became aggressive. He grabbed her phone and warned, "If you ever leave me, your pictures go online. Think of your children. Think of your reputation." Morenike had never felt so trapped. She realized she had replaced her husband's betrayal with a deeper prison, and this prison had real chains. That night she cried in the dark, acknowledging the truth she had avoided. Her revenge had taken her farther from happiness and deeper into destruction. As she wept, her room suddenly grew ice cold. Shadows gathered around her bed, whispering, "Stay angry, stay broken, stay ours." She buried her face in her hands. Meanwhile, Baba Olusoji felt the spiritual shift in the community. He burned incense, prayed over cowries, and invoked ancestral wisdom. During his ritual, the flames flickered violently, and the cowries scattered in a pattern he had hoped never to see again, the sign of a home under spiritual siege. A broken covenant, fueled by unforgiveness, had invited malevolent forces. He feared that if the marriage dissolved completely, the spirits would turn on the children next. He quickly sent a message to Adekunle, "Bring your family, the darkness is growing bolder." Adekunle tried contacting Morenike, but she ignored his calls. He went to the guest house only to find she had left earlier, with KJ dragging her into a car. Something inside Adekunle broke at that moment. Anger, fear, regret, all at once. He didn't know where she had gone, but he knew she was in danger, not only physically, but spiritually. KJ drove Morenike to a secluded, unfinished building under the pretense of talking things out. But as soon as they arrived, his true intentions emerged. He wanted control, power. He wanted to own her pain. When she tried to leave, he blocked the exit and said, "You started this, now you finish it." But before the confrontation escalated, the air shifted. A chilling cold swept through the building, causing KJ to shiver. Suddenly, the shadows along the walls began to move, silently at first, then swirling violently around them. KJ panicked, shouting, "What is this?" The dark entity that had been tailing Morenike materialized, tall, faceless, and hungry. It hovered behind her like a dark crown. Morenike fell to her knees, terrified. The entity whispered, "You gave me your bitterness. Now I take your peace." At that moment, she realized she was no longer in control of her anger. It controlled her. The war for her soul had begun. The night after the court formalized their divorce, Morenike sat alone in her new apartment, a cold, empty place with bare walls and no sound except the hum of the refrigerator. As she closed her eyes to rest, she drifted into a dream. This time, she didn't see her mother only. She saw 3 shadows standing at the foot of her bed. One was her mother. The second was a man whose face she couldn't fully see, and the third was a young child glowing like a small flame. When the child stepped forward, a wave of warmth washed through her, and she felt her heart expand with sorrow and clarity. The child whispered, "What you break in anger takes years to rebuild in truth." Morenike woke with tears streaming down her face, shaken by the message. She walked to the kitchen, unable to shake off the child's voice. There she found the family kola nut bowl, which she had thrown away weeks earlier after the divorce, but somehow sat neatly on the counter.
The lid was open. Inside, the kola nuts had split in 3, forming a perfect triangle, a sacred sign of broken unity in Yoruba divination. She picked up the bowl, trembling. "Is it too late?" she whispered. The bowl, cold and silent, offered no answer, but in her heart she knew the truth. Forgiveness was the only doorway left standing. Across town, Chief Adekunle was facing his own haunting. His once vibrant home, filled with laughter and warm meals, now echoed with emptiness. His children avoided staying over, preferring their small campus apartment. Rumors of his infidelity and the public collapse of his marriage had cost him work contracts, and the once respected man became a subject of pity. That night, he sat on the floor of his bedroom, holding the gold bracelet Morenike had given him on their 25th anniversary. It had always been a symbol of strength, but now it felt like a weight. As he drifted to sleep, he too had a dream. He found himself in the old family compound in Ijebu. His late father stood under the mango tree, dressed in white, looking disappointed. "Adekunle," he said, "you forgot the first law of a man. The one who breaks trust must kneel to rebuild it." Then his father pointed to the ground, and Adekunle looked down to see ropes binding his legs. "Your pride is your rope," he said. "Cut it." When Adekunle woke up, he gasped for breath. His legs were free, but his pride, yes, that remained. And now he knew exactly what he must do next. Tade, Bisi, and Yetunde met with their parents separately, trying desperately to mend what remained. The children had taken the brunt of the scandal. Friends whispered, lecturers judged them silently, and even their church peers avoided them. Tade, the eldest, approached his father first. "Daddy, we are drowning," he said, voice cracking. "If you and Mommy continue like this, we will lose more than our name. We will lose our spirit." Adekunle felt something collapse inside him. It had been years since he heard his son speak with such vulnerability. Morenike faced similar pressure when Bisi confronted her. "Mommy, revenge didn't fix anything. It only burned what was left. Please, we need healing." Morenike felt the words pierce her like arrows. Their youngest, Yetunde, cried quietly beside her sister, clutching the broken beads of the family bracelet she had found. Seeing the pain of her children she had protected all her life, broke through the last defenses of her bitterness. She finally said the words her children had longed for. "Call your father. Tell him we must talk." They chose to meet at their ancestral compound, under the same ancient tree where Adekunle's father had appeared in his dream. The moment they arrived, a wind rose unexpectedly, shaking the leaves in rhythmic bursts. Elder Olapade, who had overheard the children's plan, came silently from his hut and stood near them. "You both carry fire in your hearts," he said calmly. "But fire does not always destroy. Sometimes it refines." His presence made the air feel sacred. Adekunle stepped forward first. He knelt fully in the red earth, just as his father instructed in the dream. "Morenike," he said, voice trembling, "I broke our home. I humiliated you. I disrespected the covenant we made. I am sorry. Not because the world is watching, but because I lost my friend, my peace, and my honor." Morenike watched him, arms folded. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer than he expected. "I too became fire that burned out of control. I wanted you to feel my pain. I harmed myself in the process." For the first time in months, silence fell between them, not of anger, but of soul-deep exhaustion. As they spoke, Elder Olapade placed the old kola nut bowl between them. "Break it together," he instructed. The bowl had 3 nuts still in it, the same triangle Morenike had seen earlier. Adekunle and Morenike both reached out to break the kola nuts, and as they touched them, a brief warm glow passed through the bowl, shocking them both. Elder Olapade didn't look surprised. When unity calls, even broken things remember their purpose, he said. The kola nuts cracked cleanly into perfect halves, an extremely rare sign. Elder Olapade smiled. The ancestors have spoken. The crack is clean, meaning the wound can heal. Morenike felt tears welling up, not of pain, but of release. Adekunle bowed his head, overwhelmed. Though the supernatural moment lasted only a second, it marked what their hearts already knew. The door to reconciliation had opened. They did not remarry immediately. That would have made the story shallow. Healing took months. Trust needed rebuilding. Therapy, counseling, family meetings, long conversations, and renewed humility formed the foundation of their slow return. But over time, something beautiful happened. They rediscovered the friendship beneath the marriage, the laughter behind the walls, and the love they once thought lost forever. Eventually, they held a small ceremony, not loud, not extravagant, to renew their vows quietly before their children and Elder Olapade. The village saw their transformation and whispered, "Forgiveness is the strongest medicine. Pride is the deadliest poison." Their story spread across the community as a warning and a lesson. Not every marriage survives infidelity. Not every heart recovers from betrayal. But forgiveness, genuine, humble, hard-earned forgiveness, can turn ashes into soil for new beginnings. And as the sun set on their renewed union, the talking drums echoed a final proverb. The one who refuses to forgive carries their offender on their back forever.